In the season when the red earth of the east begins to breathe again, when the harmattan dust settles and the sun softens its gaze, Umuofia prepares for a sacred joy. Not the kind of joy that is careless, but the kind that is deliberate, joy that comes with ritual, with remembrance, with gratitude spoken in the language of the land. Umuofia sits quietly in the arms of tall palm trees and old paths that have learned the footsteps of generations. Its compounds are arranged like family stories, mud walls warmed by sunlight, thatched roofs holding secrets, courtyards where laughter and quarrels share the same air. In the mornings, smoke rises gently from kitchens, carrying the scent of pepper, roasting corn, and boiling yam. At the stream, women balance clay pots on their heads with the elegance of queens, their wrappers tied tight, their voices rising and falling like songs. Children run barefoot on the red soil, their feet painting the earth with small, confident prints. Their laughter is light as birds. And at the center of it all, the village square opens like a heart. There is a large iroko tree there, thick, ancient, and wide-armed. It has watched Umuofia grow and stumble, celebrate and mourn. Under that tree, the village has settled disputes, blessed marriages, welcomed newborns, and buried elders whose names still taste like respect. The tree is not just shade, it is witness. And now, as the new Yam Festival approaches, that tree becomes the gathering point for a village determined to honor its ancestors and the soil that feeds them. The new Yam Festival, EDG, is not merely food and dancing, it is thanksgiving with structure, renewal with rules. Umuofia does not eat the new yam until it is blessed, until the ancestors are acknowledged, until the community remembers that harvest is never a private victory. The yam is dignity, it is labor, it is lineage, it is the quiet proof that life has continued. So the days before the festival are full of movement and meaning. Youths sweep the paths, clearing away fallen leaves as if making the village presentable to the spirits of those who came before. Women scrub pots until they shine like mirrors. Old men sit in groups, sipping palm wine, speaking slowly, their words carrying the weight of long experience. Drummers tighten their drumskins under the sun, testing rhythms that will soon speak louder than ordinary speech. Flutes are lifted to lips, and soft notes drift into the air like prayers. And in those days, one man is praised the most, Chief Okeke, a respected elder, a titled man, a pillar of Umuofia's order. Chief Okeke is the kind of leader whose presence calms a room. He walks with a staff that looks less like support and more like a symbol, an extension of authority. His red cap sits proudly, and his wrapper is always tied with the neatness of a man who knows people are watching. He does not speak too quickly. He chooses his words the way an experienced farmer chooses seeds, careful about what will grow from what he plants. In the village, people say Chief Okeke is a man of integrity, a man of tradition, a man whose household reflects discipline, whose family is stable, whose name is clean. And for a long time, it seemed true. But even the cleanest name can hide a stain beneath it if no one lifts the cloth. Because what Umuofia did not know, what it could not imagine, was a secret that had been sleeping beneath that red earth for years. Not dead, not forgotten, sleeping. And secrets, like seeds, do not stay silent forever. In a morning that began like any other festival season morning, Umuofia was wrapped in happiness. Women pounded yam in steady rhythm, thud, 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 as if the village itself had a heartbeat. Youths practiced dance steps near the square, their ankles adorned with small beads that clicked with each movement. Small children chased one another around the iroko tree, shrieking with the kind of joy that makes adults smile, even when they pretend they are busy. The scent of cooked soup drifted from compounds, mingling with the smell of fresh palm fronds used to decorate entrances. Drums played softly in the distance, warm, familiar, promising celebration. Then, the drums slowed. Not because the drummer grew tired, but because attention shifted, because the air changed. A man was walking into Umuofia from the far path, the one that cuts through thick bush and distant memories. He was not running, not hesitant, not lost. He walked with purpose, dust clinging to his slippers, his clothes simple and travel-worn. He He carried a small bag, and his shoulders held a stillness that made people uncomfortable. His face was calm, but his eyes, those eyes, were not the eyes of a man coming for food or festival. They were the eyes of someone carrying a story too heavy to drop. Villagers began to whisper, as villages do. Who is he? Is he from a neighboring town? Why now when the new Yam Festival is near? The man stepped into the village square and stood beneath the iroko tree, the witness tree, as though he had chosen the exact center of Umuofia's conscience. And then Chief Okeke saw him. For a moment, the chief's body stiffened, his grip on his staff tightened. His face, usually calm like settled water, shifted, just briefly, like a pond disturbed by a stone. Fear passed through him. Not fear of physical danger, but fear of recognition. Fear that something buried had risen. Fear that the past had found its way home. The stranger did not shout. He did not announce himself loudly. He simply stood, letting the silence around him do what it always does: expand, deepen, gather attention. Umuofia felt it. Something had entered the village that did not come to dance. That evening, the village still ate and laughed, but the laughter did not travel as far as it should. Conversations kept circling back, like birds returning to a single tree. Women at the stream lowered their voices. Men under the iroko tree watched Chief Okeke more closely than before. And inside Chief Okeke's compound, night arrived like a heavy blanket. Mama Nkem watched him from the courtyard. Mama Nkem was not a loud woman. Her strength lived in her steadiness, the way she kept a household functioning, the way she carried dignity without needing applause. Her wrapper was always neat, her headscarf firm, her gaze sharp enough to catch what others missed. That night, she saw a man restless in his own home. Chief Okeke paced. He avoided her eyes. He breathed like someone trying to swallow something bitter. Mama Nkem did not rush him with questions at first. She waited, because she knew pride is a stubborn thing in men who carry titles. But eventually, her voice broke the silence. It was gentle, but firm. The tone of a woman who has lived long enough to understand that silence can be a poison that tastes sweet at first. She wanted to know why the stranger's face had stolen her husband's peace. Chief Okeke tried to dismiss it, tried to wrap the truth in nothing. But Mama Nkem knew nothing does not shake a man like that. Nothing does not steal sleep from a respected elder. Silence settled between them again, thick and uncomfortable. And deep inside Mama Nkem, something old stirred, an old knowledge, an old fear, because she recognized that kind of tension, the tension of a secret pressing against the surface. As the days moved closer to the festival, the stranger remained. He did not beg to be accepted. He did not act like a man seeking charity. He moved through the village calmly, watching, listening. Sometimes he sat under the iroko tree, not speaking much, just existing, like a shadow with meaning. The village's curiosity turned into anxiety. Rumors grew in the marketplace like wildfire catching dry grass. Some said the stranger came to claim land. Some said he came to expose wrongdoing. Some said he was a spirit. Some said a curse was coming. But the most troubling thing was the way Chief Okeke began to change. His temper shortened. His smiles became forced. His words became sharper. A man who used to greet people with warmth began to avoid gatherings. A man who used to sit confidently under the iroko tree now found excuses to stay away. And when he did appear, his eyes carried the haunted look of a man hearing footsteps behind him even when no one is there. Then, the Council of Elders decided it was time. In Umuofia, the elders are not just old men, they are the village's memory and moral spine. When they call you, you go, not just out of respect, but because the village runs on the order they maintain. So the stranger was summoned. The council hut smelled of old wood and incense. The elders sat in a semicircle, wrappers folded neatly, red caps perched like symbols of authority. Kola nut was brought out, because serious matters begin with ritual, because truth must be invited properly. The stranger entered respectfully, greeted them, and stood still. The elders asked who he was, why he had come, why his presence felt like a disturbance in the air. And the stranger began to speak. His story came slowly at first, like a river that starts as a trickle. but it grew. He spoke of years ago, of a woman from Umuofia who was accused of a terrible taboo. He spoke of how she was called a witch, how stones were thrown, how she was chased out of the village as though her humanity was negotiable. He spoke of exile, of shame, of death far from home. And then he gave her name, Uzoamaka. The name landed like a drumbeat in the silence. Some elders shifted uncomfortably, some looked away, because even though time had passed, the memory of that accusation lived in the village like a scar. Then the stranger said something that made the air tighten. He said the village owed a debt, not of money, but of truth, and he pointed toward the heart of the village's respect. He said the man who led the accusation against his mother was Chief Okeke. As if the roof of the council hut suddenly became heavier. Outside, villagers waiting in curiosity began to feel fear, because fear travels faster than facts. Chief Okeke's face hardened. His hands trembled just slightly. The elders stared, not sure whether to be angry at the stranger or to question the chief. Then the stranger continued, and the story became sharper. He said his mother was not a witch. He said she was a woman who loved. He said she loved a man who feared disgrace more than he valued truth. And then, like thunder arriving without warning, the stranger revealed the shape of the buried secret. Years ago, Uzoamka had been involved in a forbidden love affair with Chief Okeke, and when her belly began to show signs of pregnancy, Chief Okeke panicked. He feared losing his title, feared the village's laughter, feared a stain on his name. So he chose the cruelest escape. He used tradition like a weapon. He arranged an accusation so that the woman could be expelled, her pregnancy dismissed, her existence erased. And then he returned to normal life, married respect publicly, while burying shame privately. The elders demanded more, proof, clarity. The stranger's voice remained calm as he delivered the final truth. He said he was not merely the son of a wronged woman. He said he was Chief Okeke's son. When this knowledge began to spread through Umuofia, it did not spread politely, it spread like fire. By the time festival day arrived, the village was dressed in its finest, but the atmosphere was heavy. Wrappers shimmered with patterns, coral beads glowed against skin. Men wore red caps, standing tall. Women carried trays of food, their headscarves tied like art. Drummers gathered, dancers lined up. The square looked like beauty in motion. But beneath that beauty was tension, thick and pulsing. Before the new yam could be eaten, the elders gathered the village for a final address, because Umuofia could not pretend. The stranger stepped forward again, this time before everyone, before children, women, youths, titled men, elders. He told the story in full. He spoke of his mother's exile, her pain, her dignity even in suffering, her death with a broken heart. He spoke of how she had asked him to return, not for revenge, but for truth. Then he exposed the secret completely. He spoke of the affair, the pregnancy, the fear, the betrayal. The village gasped as the truth unfolded, not because the village was innocent, but because the village was forced to look at itself, to face what it had done, to recognize how easily tradition can become cruelty when placed in the hands of a fearful man. And then, as if the sky itself wanted to witness the moment, Mama Enkem stepped forward. Her eyes shone with tears that carried decades. She confirmed the truth. She confessed that she had known for years, had carried the secret like a stone in her chest, because she believed silence would protect her family. But now she understood. Silence does not erase wrongdoing. Silence only delays justice. At that moment, Chief Okeke, once tall and untouchable, collapsed to his knees in the village square. The red cap on his head suddenly looked heavy, like a burden rather than a crown. His confession came not as a performance, but as a brokenness. He admitted it. He admitted that he feared disgrace more than he feared injustice. He admitted that he sacrificed a woman's life to protect his name. He admitted that he buried shame under titles and festivals and the praise of men. The village stood in shock, but shock quickly became grief. Because it is one thing to hate an enemy, It is another thing to watch the fall of someone you once trusted as a moral compass. The elders deliberated publicly because this was not just about one man, it was about Umuofia's integrity. Some argued that tradition must be protected, that exposing such a scandal would dishonor the village. Others argued that tradition was never meant to shield evil, that a community that protects lies because of titles plants darkness in its children's future. In the end, the elders chose justice. Chief Okeke would step down from leadership, not because the village wanted to destroy him, but because leadership without truth is performance, a masquerade, beautiful outside, hollow inside. A cleansing ritual was performed, not as magic to erase pain, but as a communal declaration that Umuofia was choosing to begin again. Water was brought, leaves were used, prayers were spoken. The air felt different. And in a moment that carried both sorrow and tenderness, Mama Nkem embraced the stranger, Chike, recognizing him not just as a symbol of scandal, but as a human being, a son returned to his roots. Chike did not shout, he did not celebrate. His relief came quietly, like a breath held too long finally released. Because sometimes what a wounded person wants most is not punishment, it is acknowledgement, it is the dignity of truth. As the new yam was finally broken, Umuofia ate, slowly, thoughtfully. The festival continued, but with a different kind of wisdom. Drums played again, softer at first, then steadier. Dancers moved with restraint, as if honoring both joy and sorrow in the same rhythm. Children laughed again, sensing the release in the air, even if they did not understand the story. And under the Iroko tree, the village sat with the weight of what it had learned, that truth and tradition are not enemies, that silence is not always peace, that leadership must be accountable to the people it serves, and that forgiveness, when it is real, is never cheap, it is earned by truth. In the quiet after the day's noise, Umuofia felt something unusual, not perfection, not complete healing, but clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when a lie is finally dragged into the open air and forced to become small. Because secrets do not disappear when buried. They wait, they grow roots, they rise like yam after rain. And when they rise, a community must choose to hide again or to heal. Umuofia chose truth, and in choosing truth, it chose the harder road, the road that hurts before it heals. So if you are listening, and you have ever buried something because you feared shame, feared conflict, feared what people might say, remember Umuofia. Remember that tradition without justice becomes oppression. Remember that silence can either protect or poison. And remember that a name built on lies is not honor, it is a fragile mask waiting to fall. And remember this, truth may break the heart first, but it is truth that finally makes a people whole. Because the earth remembers, and what is buried will one day rise.
And this brings us to the end of our story. If you believe stories like this deserve to be heard and preserved, please like, share, and subscribe for more deeply rooted African storytelling.